my name is Leslie Winchester and this is Little Bear. We just came back from a really long walk, and what we're going to do for this video is we're going to go over the instructions, make sense of the charts, and then we are going to get started on our project and go through the first few steps. Start the cutting of felt and the sequencing and the embroidery. All the things that make these stockings, just Bucilla in general, really addicting to do their kits. So let's get started. Let's make sense of this chart. So obviously my reference photo, I'm gonna put that to the side for now. I first read these instructions. So this is my instructions page. And I go step by step through these. That tells me which felt I'm supposed to work on next, which I'm supposed to cut, and should I sequence it or should I embroider it. So once I've looked here, I look to my design chart. And you'll notice, like on piece number 2, that it'll tell me this is felt number 2, and then it will tell me what kind of sequence I'm supposed to use. So if I see this heart, I'm gonna go to the table right here, and I'm gonna find where it talks about the sequence, and there's the heart, and then I know it's red. So that's how that part works. So this is the design chart that tells you the sequin color, the number on the felt, and then of course the kind of embroidery you're doing. Here is a running stitch embroidery. This was a blanket stitch up here, and I found all that out from this chart over here. So this is the last thing that I look at. All right, let's get started on our stocking. Let's finally do the fun things here. We're going to start with felt piece number 1, as per the instructions tell me to. And we're going to cut it out first. So as you can see here in this picture, I had cut out the entire felt piece number 1, which is the front of the stocking, without all of the good stuff on top of it. And I am supposed to sequence this, and then I'm supposed to ignore doing the white running stitch on the side until the very end. Next, I moved on to felt piece number 2, which was the banner, as seen here. I cut it out, and it told me to personalize it. So this is where I'm going to be putting Little Bear's name on my stocking, making it feel really personal. And I'm first going to start this process by getting tracing paper. And again, I got my tracing paper off of Amazon. So I'm going to cut out a little piece of that tracing paper that fits into that banner. And then I'm going to set it over the letters so I can trace my letters onto this tracing paper. So we are going to do the chain stitch, and I've already gotten started on the name that I'm putting onto the stocking. One thing when it comes to doing the chain stitch with tracing paper on top is it's hard to see where your needle is going when you're behind. You just can't see if it's coming up in the right place. So this is how I start it. I poke a hole in the place that I want my needle to come up. That helps me see if my needle is coming up the right spot. Now where my needle's actually going to go right now is where this strand is coming out. I'm going through that same hole. I'm going to put it in there. Now I'm going to pull, but not all the way. I'm going to leave a loop like that. Now that hole that I made earlier, my needle's going to come up through that hole. And it's just a little bit easier to see if my needle, there it is coming up through the right spot. And you're going to put it through the loop that you made earlier, and then you're going to pull. And there's your chain stitch. And I'm going to do that for this entire thing. So let me finish doing the chain stitch throughout the rest of this, and then I'll show you what it looks like once it's done and how to get the paper out. So I have finished doing the chain stitch for the name of my stocking, which is Little Bear. It took me a couple days to do this just because I had a hard time finding time to sit down long enough to actually do the whole name. So it's finally done, and we are going to now take the paper off. So I finished with my chain stitch, and I pulled out the paper that I was using, the tracing paper, and that's always nerve-wracking because you don't want to ruin your chain stitch, so take it nice and slow. If you get one side of it out, the other side comes out really easily. So I usually start with the bottom and pull all the bottom out really nicely, and then the top stuff tends to come out a little easier, and everything that's in the middle, like in the B is probably the hardest one for me to get out. All that stuff in the middle typically comes out really quick once you do the outside really well. So yeah, it's all done. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to sequence this piece, and then we will do a little bit of embroidery work before we attach it on to the main part of our stocking. So I'm right now doing a blanket stitch, and I'm going to show you guys how I do that. The blanket stitch is pretty nice. It's very, very cute. So the way I'm doing my blanket stitch is I am coming in, sorry guys, my light goes away sometimes for whatever reason. I'm coming in through the back. I'm trying to get my needle to come out in the spot where the bottom of that line is. And then I'm going to pull, but not all the way. Okay, because I still want this loop right here. I still want that loop. And I'm going to put my needle through that loop, and then I'm going to pull. Sorry, there we go. And there's my blanket stitch. Okay, and I'm going to do that all the way across. Alright, so I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. After I completed my blanket stitch, let me show you how that looks. It turned out so pretty. I love it. I think I'm absolutely in love with the blanket stitch. I cannot wait to do that again on other stockings. After I completed this blanket stitch, the instructions told me to applique my felt piece number 2 to felt piece number 1. And I did. All the bottom here is appliqued, and you can tell my applique stitch needs work. Sometimes I'm really even with it, other times I'm not. And when I did this, I just didn't feel like it turned out very even. Luckily, the bottom part here is actually going to be covered up by piece number 3. So I'm not that concerned that it's not that even. But sometimes I really need to work on my applique stitch. So hopefully it'll be more even in the future. So this is what we have going on right now. It looks beautiful. There's a little sequence on piece number 1. I love it. It's already super cute. We are moving on to piece number 3, like I had mentioned. And I need to cut this piece out. And I'm going to sequin. Need it to focus, sorry. There we go. All those little dots, I'm gonna sequin all those. And then it's actually a really straightforward piece. So once I cut it out and sequin it, this piece is gonna go right here where it says number 3. It'll just be the zigzag. So I want to show you how to sequin. And as you can see here, there is the sequin and there is a bead. For this stocking, if you have a red sequin, using a red bead. Any other color, which the only other 2 colors I have for the stocking are green and white, we're going to use a clear bead. So the way that I start this is I'm going to put my needle up through that little black hole right there, and I'm going to pull all the way through just like that, and then I am going to grab my green sequin here. I'm going to put that through, and then I'm going to grab my bead. I'm trying not to move this around too much because sometimes it gets out of focus. Okay, and then I grabbed my bead here. There we go, I got it to focus. All right, so you pull this all the way through, like that. Oh good, that's a nice clear picture there for you. And then you're going to take your needle, and you're not putting it through the bead, you're actually gonna put it through the sequin. Like that, so that it comes out practically where your needle went in earlier. There we go, needed it to focus again. Okay, so I'm gonna pull that through. you go. Okay, so I'm going to continue on with this, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. So I'm going to show you the applique stitch. I've already gotten started here. I've gone through all of this so far. I'm going to do this whole top part and then I'll do the bottom. I have some safety pins to hold it into place. I know they look a little funny, but I couldn't make them go horizontal. It just wasn't working for me because of how thin this piece is. So I have them going vertical, which is holding it in place for me pretty well. I just had to get a little crafty. So let's do this applique stitch here. I'm using one piece of thread and I'm using the same color as my felt. That way it blends in really well. I am going to start my needle where this thread comes out, just underneath this green felt, and I'm going to snag a little bit of the white felt, not going all the way through to the back, and then I'm going to have my needle come up through the other end and pull it through, and that's how it looks. And it doesn't go all the way to the back, it just snags a little bit of this white piece here. I'm using the same color thread as the felt that's on top. Don't use white because then you're going to see it. You want to use the same color so it blends in a bit. And I'm trying to make these really even. Like I said earlier, my applique on this white piece wasn't very even, but luckily it's getting covered up right now. And I'm trying to make this look even because you're going to be able to see it when the stocking's done. So I'm taking my time with it. But it's looking really cute, and now that I showed you how I applique, I'm going to finish this off and I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done with all the pins out of it. I have finished the applique stitch. It looks really good. I took my time with it, so it looks way better than when I did the applique stitch on this white banner up here. There's my chain stitch, there are my sequins, there's my blanket stitch. It all looks really good. I'm happy with how the top part of the stocking has turned out so far. With our next video, we're going to start working on Santa's face. So I look forward to you guys watching next time we get together. Again, this has been Stitch and Bear time, and I will see you next time.